I could ask him questions for hours and hours and hours.
He went for quite a long time today. A little bit.
Yes.
Normally we get about 35 minutes. I think today we went
Yeah, it
to
depends
45.
on the questions, when there are many, many personal questions. Because I guess then he goes through the energy of the person who asked it, and then sometimes it has to go to another. It would all take much more effort, I would think.
Morning.
Hey, Gary.
Morning. Hey, Abraham spoke longer, like longer than normal. And
Okay.
is it true if I say that if there's a lot of questions which are personal and he would actually have to go, because obviously I don't say even the names, he would have to go through the energies through that person and then maybe to even to another person, and it would take more energy? Would that make a difference or no?
Possibly. Also, if you've got a lot of personal questions, then all the other sitters kind of start losing interest. So then they stop giving energy. So that could be affecting it as well.
Ah, okay, cool. Thank you.
And he probably really doesn't like personal questions, so he gets bored.
Sorry?
He also probably doesn't like personal questions and gets bored.
No, he doesn't want people to get bored. There is something he will tell you about Richard
Okay.
with,
To do with.
and then with the other person who had something, asked something about castor oil. So can we do the two first? And then whoever has questions for Gary, then can you put your hand up on the reaction board so nobody is missed? But
Gary, just to clarify, how much are you aware of when Abraham is speaking?
Nothing. During the trance, nothing. Yeah. After trance, I can hear him perfectly. But yeah, during the trance, I have no idea. I know that time has passed. I can normally tell because I see colors when I go into it. So I can normally tell by how intense the colors are, how deep I've been, but I don't know what's been said or how long exactly it's been.
And is that a pleasant state for you to be in?
Um, yeah, it's nice. It feels when you get out of bed in the morning and you think, oh, I'll go back for 10, 15 more minutes, and you feel like you're lying on a cloud with the covers. That it kind of feels like that. And at the same time, it's kind of when you've been daydreaming and someone gets your attention, and then you realize that you've been daydreaming. It's a bit like that as well.
Okay.
so Richard's question. Richard, can you just unmute yourself and ask the question?
Yes, I have pain in both shoulders,
Oh, okay.
and I'm wondering what is the cause and what I can do to remedy the pain.
Both shoulders. That's quite down in the shoulders. So there's lots of information there. There's quite a bit of wear there. You okay? It looks as if you're losing the ligament support there as well. So that's then creating more inflammation because you're not getting the support around the joints. Um, it's been going on for quite a while. It's quite a bit of wear in the left side. Um, so remedy wise, just checking with the boss. Okay, simple. So you could try something like peanut oil, rubbing that in. It's also known as groundnut oil because apparently peanuts grow in the ground. Rubbing that in 2, 3 times a day. In your case, I would also, yes. Okay, so do peanut oil mixed with magnesium oil. And then when you put it on, just put a heat pad on it for about 5 minutes or so, just to get the blood circulation in there. And that should help reduce that inflammation because on the right side, you're also impinging the nerve a little bit. It's not trapped, but it is getting impinged.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Yep.
And Gabrielle about the castor oil.
Castor oil, yum.
Castor oil, yum, yum. Where is Gabrielle then?
I'm here.
Oh, yeah. Can you ask your question again about the castor oil packs for chest pain?
Yeah, sorry about the personal questions. I was
No, it's okay. No problem. No problem at all. No.
okay. Yeah, castor oil packs. Abraham said that he knows something that's more effective. I'm curious as to what that is.
What's been the problem?
It's just some formation which has been considered
Oh, okay.
non-cancerous, but I forgot the name right now, what the term is.
Yeah, so you've got it
Painful at
on
times.
the lower lobes, but also you're getting a lot of congestion in the small airways in the lungs. So castor oil is good to detox the body. It's really good for that. In your case, we want to do okay. So we'd look at colloidal silver, just getting that into your body daily as well, just to reduce infection and inflammation. But also, if you get a bowl of hot water, squeeze a fresh lemon into it, then towel over your head and inhale the steam. Lemon's one of the few things that it'll get the enzymes into those small airways and it will decongest you. So at first, you may cough up a lot of rubbish, which is sitting there in the bronchi, but that should help clear that out quite easily.
Thank you.
So I do that alongside. I'd still do the castor oil packs. They're really
Okay.
good. Hope it
Okay.
helps.
Thank you. I hope too. Thank you.
I I asked Mary first. She didn't put her hand up, but then I do the other. Yeah? Mary, unmute yourself. There
Thank
you
you.
go.
Jen actually has a question for Gary. Hi, Gary.
Hi, Gary. Would an illness like shingles be an illness that is happening because I'm releasing something I've been holding in my solar plexus?
Possibly. So, yeah, definitely. I mean, skin conditions in particular are very common of emotional stuff. It's as shingles is sitting in your nerve ending, and so if your body is under a lot of stress, a lot of inflammation, then yes, that could be triggering the shingles. And especially with skin conditions, you'll tend to start to manifest them in the area they're coming from. So I remember like a really interesting case is this woman had psoriasis all over her body. And when I said to her, where did it start? She said it started on my wedding finger a month after my husband left me.
Oh,
That's a giveaway, right?
And it's actually very common. You'll see it with a lot of skin conditions.
Yeah, well, it's in the abdomen region. That's why I was curious as to that's to me my solar plexus, and was that something? And it's triggered both times now, seeing my oldest that's come from the military.
Yep.
So I've had
Epsom
weird
salt
things.
baths. Yeah, try getting some Epsom salt baths. That will help detox the lymphatic system and should help calm that down.
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you.
Daniel, you are next.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Gary. One of the most fascinating things for me about mediumship and energies crossing our boundary is that of physical materialization. I once met a man who had been dead for at least 2 years, which I had only found out about afterwards. And I know during the skull experiment and so forth, there were a number of perfect and total materializations. My question is, as far as you know, how is it possible? What are the conditions that have to be into play for this to happen? And I also wonder how many of the people that we see just walking along the street might actually be materializations that we're unaware of. So
Yeah,
please.
it's entirely possible. I hear a lot of groups talk about that would say extraterrestrials, that say that you get some extraterrestrials that walk among us and would just seem like normal human beings walking around. So for materialization, for a long time, we would think it would all be about ectoplasm, and traditionally it would be. You would have an ectoplasmic form or mass, and then that mass would be inspired by a personality, which would then form into some form of materialization. But actually, with photoplasm, we're getting a lot of groups getting materialization in some forms. The most common way tends to be that spirit kind of produce an energy or produce a mass, and then they work with our perception. So they work with how our mind perceives the energy, so they can show us what they want us to see. And a great example, you'll hear people say, "Oh, everyone in the room heard music, but somebody who was standing outside the room heard nothing."
But in the case of my experience, this man was totally physical to my perception. We shook hands. He had a very firm handshake. And I saw there was nothing there that would give me a clue that this was anything other than a normal physical being. So it's quite an accomplishment, seems.
It can be done in the right conditions. It can be done. I've seen some amazing materializations, and if you look at reports of the past, again with ectoplasm, they are solid as me and you. Some could hang around for days. I think it's Father Giuseppe could get a full materialization in 15 seconds in daylight.
Mm.
So it can be done.
Yeah, well, thank you. Thank you.
Sally.
Yes, thank you, Gary, for coming again and spending time with us and having Abraham give us a little bit of knowledge and wisdom. One of the really interesting things he said to me today was that physical mediumship can be caught. And now
Yes.
I've heard that about what I would think of as ITC mediumship, that if you spend time with and around an ITC medium, you'll very likely start to pick it up as well. But I haven't heard that about physical mediumship. So I'm just curious if you have seen it happen and kind of what are the conditions that allow it?
So physical mediumship is more contagious than COVID. And it exists. So a great example is something like EVP. I know so many people who have sat for electronic voice phenomena for years, had nothing. All of a sudden they sit with someone who does get phenomena, EVP phenomena, and then all of a sudden in their own recordings, they're getting phenomena. So every time you're sitting with a medium, although you're sitting for that medium, you're giving energy. If there's an aspect in your energy that has that ability, then by sitting with that medium, your energy can kind of learn what it needs to do to produce that phenomena. So EVP is very common. Table tipping is extremely common as well. That people who can't table tip, if you sit with someone who can, you'll do it. And actually, the interesting thing with table tipping is it kind of works both ways. So even if you sit with table tipping with someone who pushes the table, you're more likely to start pushing the table yourself. I see that quite a lot as well. So not all phenomena, possibly. I can't rule that out. Possibly all phenomena, but definitely a lot of phenomena. And I know a lot of the phenomena that I have had has started after I've sat with another physical medium that has that type of phenomena. And then all of a sudden I sit and they're working with that phenomena, and vice versa. I've seen a lot of people who have, say, come to one of my seances and then are reporting that all of a sudden they're getting that phenomena happening, which is great, and what should be.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Sylvia.
Thank you. May I ask a health question?
Yeah.
Of course.
All right. What can be done about a recently diagnosed kidney disease, stage 3A?
Oh, know that. Let's ask Abe. So I should say, by the way, guys, I'm not a doctor, so you're in safe hands.
Of course.
Okay, yes. So problem we got there is this narrowing of the tube, which means then it's a perfect breeding ground for infection to build, and that's creating irritation as well. Okay, so again, you could look at something like colloidal silver, which is a natural antibiotic. You could also look at, what is that? That is really okay. I wouldn't normally recommend this. For some reason, he's talking about reishi mushrooms, and dandelion. So getting dandelion as a tea would also be quite good in that regards as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
Absolute pleasure.
Miss Cindy.
Hi, Gary. How you doing?
Good, you?
Good. Listen, can you elaborate on a question I asked earlier? I used to sit for a trance medium, and she used to sit for me. And when we get together, it's like our energies are just multiplied big time. Now, I was initiating a healing on her yesterday. I'd finished, I'd sat down, and as she's coming back, all of a sudden, a big wave of energy within the room. She started talking and stopped, and we both said, not the right time. Why would that have happened?
There could be a number of reasons. So on the one hand, to be blunt, it could be bad discipline.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, some people, they'll go to a seance and they'll let themselves drop into trance. Just because you feel the pull doesn't mean you should let it happen, but some people do. So we'd say that's bad discipline. Could be that. It could be that it's the only time spirit have had to actually get a message across to you. So they've taken the opportunity. And then whether or not you listen to that, or they're going to have to try again. Building energy, if you're sitting for each other, potentially what could be happening as well is, although you're both sitting as a medium, you may also be dropping into sitter mode. So as well as building the energy, rather than using the energy, you're building it and giving it to the other person, and they're building it and giving it back to you. And it's just going backwards and forwards rather than being used. Potentially that could be happening as well. And there's a number of reasons that could be happening.
Okay, so there's nothing specific. I presumed that because she was in that really, really relaxed state, it was able to happen. But I know when we've actually sat together in two different cabinets at the same time, communicators come through. You can feel the energy building her side, and then you can feel it coming down and building in my side. So it goes like a yo-yo. So it just seems weird that there's that connection there.
So what we would normally do in that case is we would put another sitter in to act as a bridge for the energy.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
My pleasure. Yeah.
Anyone else? No.
Actually, can I ask one more question?
While you're there.
Well, I may as well. Gary, the gentleman with the bad shoulders, I've got the same problem back again, thricefold. Will I use the same remedy? I'm using the peanut oil.
Oh, yeah, but you need to put it on your arms as well. Because it's going to your arms and wrists.
Yeah, it's starting to radiate down there. For both arms? Oh, sorry.
More so the right side. But yes, both sides, putting that peanut oil into and the magnesium into the wrists, lower arm and into the wrists.
And that's just to hold back the inflammation, obviously.
Yes, we're trying to reduce the inflammation and increase the blood flow, so the body can start healing and it's not wearing itself out more.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I calmed down.
Steve.
Yes. Recently had a severe attack of gout in the big toe. And so I'm wondering what you could recommend for remedies and or for prevention in the future. I don't get these very often.
Okay, so we've got hereditary there. We've got a lot of acid buildup in the body. Okay, a little bit kidney function as well. Okay, so checking with the boss. Oh, really? Okay, that's easy. So I would look into bentonite clay, looking to take that for about a month or so, and then replacing the bentonite clay after a month with slippery elm for 2 weeks. So what that's going to do is it's going to work very much with the gut, the microbiome in the gut, and it's going to build the stomach lining, which should then reduce the acid in the body, which is then affecting your hormones, which is then leading to the gout, apparently.
Sounds good. Thank you. I actually have some bentonite clay.
Must be psychic.
Really?
Yes.
Henrietta.
Hi, can I ask a question about my dog? He has congestive heart failure.
Oh, okay. How old?
He's 12.
Okay. Okay, what's that? So we need to look at the diet there. And definitely looking to reduce the sodium in the diet, which seems to be having an effect there. There's a genetic weakness there as well. I can definitely send some healing if you'd like. But the main thing it's saying at the moment is looking at the diet. And definitely going more from too wet from dry, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah.
And just going for ideally getting a low sodium.
Low sodium. Okay.
Oh, okay. Say again. Oh, really? I've never tried that one before. Okay, so a nice simple one as well is okay, so yeah, let's try that. So I'm talking to myself here. Get some Epsom salts, put it on a pad or a rag, and just wiping it on their pores. What that's going to do is it's going to help stimulate because they're getting a lot of fluid retention in the body as well. So that's
Yes.
help the body release that fluid with them.
Oh, okay.
Never come across that with dogs, but that's interesting. Give it a try.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
How often should I do it once a day or
Do about twice a day. No,
twice
I'm
a
lying.
day?
This is why I checked the boss. Do it morning, evening, but also do it after a walk as well, so that they're already sweating. It's going to help stimulate it.
Okay. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Lynn.
Oh, hi, Gary. I've got a problem in my right hand. I've had 2 operations this year and it's come back worse than ever. I'm just wondering if you've got any ideas.
So problem here is we've got a bit of scar tissue as well that's putting pressure
That's
on
right.
the tendons, and that's causing the tendons to try and shrink to protect themselves.
Mhm.
And then you're compensating into that joint anyway where there's already issues. Okay, so getting something like an exercise ball, but softer than a stress ball, sorry, and just whenever you're watching TV or something, just lightly squeezing that so that we're getting stimulation that's going to help stretch out the tendons. And again, let's use the peanut oil with the magnesium. So rubbing that in 2 to 3 times a day. In your case as well, you could look to taking some selenium as well, which will help just break down that scar tissue in the body.
Yeah, I'm eating some Brazil nuts. Is that enough?
Good, yeah. So you could just get some selenium supplement and what's that? That is, oh, come on, I know what that is. Oops, sorry. What is that? It's on the tip of my mind. Come on, I drank it earlier. Collagen. Getting some collagen as well.
Oh, collagen. Okay. Okay. Yeah, got you. Okay, thank you.
My absolute pleasure. I'm taking that with the selenium.
Christina.
Yes. Good day, Gary. My brother in England is facing an open heart surgery for 2 infected valves in his heart. And the thing is, if he doesn't take the operation, he'll die, of course. And if he does, then there's only 50-50 chance that he'll survive. So he's decided to take it because he's a fighter. But is there any way we can get some healing to him or to know what might be the outcome? That's next month.
If you message me his name, I'll happily send some healing. Abraham does say though, with the person in question, they're quite stubborn when it comes to helping themselves. So one of the big things is they need to address diet, but they won't. So with the healing, we'll be trying to address that as well to help the body.
He's on dialysis every other day. He's 84 now. He did have a replacement valve when he was 65, and that resulted in kidney disease and short-term memory loss, poor man. So, but he's managed to, to pull through. He's always been very fit. So his diet is very restricted, because of the dialysis. So,
Yeah, send me his name. I'll send some healing and see what we can do to help.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Absolute pleasure.
Hyacinth.
Oh, hello, Gary. Very, very interesting hearing you. Could you send me some healing energy, please? I'm feeling a little wobbly.
Absolutely, of course. I will send that to you straight away. Thank you.
Thank you.
Gary, can you tell people how they can get in touch with you and also about your mentorship program, how that works?
So the quickest and easiest way to get hold of me probably is through Facebook. Just pop my name into Facebook. You'll see my work one, and you'll see my personal one. Go for my work one. The mentorship program. So it's a one-to-one mentorship program. We cover all the different metaphysics. So everything from mental mediumship through to physical mediumship, medical intuitive. And part of the mentorship, you can work on as much or as little as you want to. It's done month by month normally. You're not tied into any contract. And we're going to basically, you'll have a chat with me once or twice a week, and we'll try and focus on what your issues are and what it is you need to work on. So some people only need it for a month. Some people like to have it ongoing. It's very relaxed in that regard.
And if people don't, some of our people don't use Facebook, if they want to contact you outside of Facebook, how can they do that?
I will pop my email address. You can also email me. It's in the chat now. So yeah, you can also email me, and I can do what I can to help.
Right. I think that might help some people. Gary, can you tell us a little bit about photoplasm? I know people are interested. Where does it come from? Where do they get the energy from? And what's it like working with it?
So photoplasm is purely energy based. It's energy that's taken from the room, the environment, the sitters, places on Earth. If you've ever sat in a seance where you're sitting in the dark and then all of a sudden it gets darker, that's a great example of photoplasm. So even when you think you're sitting in the dark, the room is still full of light photons. And what happens is spirit take those light photons as energy, and that's what makes the room get darker, even though you're sitting in the dark. The good thing with photoplasm is because it's purely energy based, if the energy does get harmed, the energy just disperses. It's not going to harm the medium. Whereas with ectoplasm, if it's harmed, it recoils, which creates frictions or burns inside the body. Everything you can get with ectoplasm, you can get with photoplasm. You get some phenomena that you get with photoplasm that you don't get with ectoplasm. Things like thought field photography is a phenomena that you get with photoplasm, not ectoplasm. The other benefit with photoplasm is anyone can work with it. Ectoplasm, you have to be born with the ability to produce it or an abundance of it. Photoplasm, anyone can produce. Another benefit is when you're working with ectoplasm, you only tend to have one medium sitting at a time. Whereas with photoplasm, you can have multiple mediums sit at the same time. Now, the downside to photoplasm is spirit have a lot more control with ectoplasm. So photoplasm is a lot more influenced by the mind of the sitters, and it's a lot harder for spirit to control and maintain that control, which is why they do still work with ectoplasm.
Just to clarify, the Skull group was working with photoplasm, is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so they called it new energy, but yeah, it would be photoplasm. I mean, there's so many different names that are all referring to the same thing, really.
Dan, as you might have known, made a video about the skull experiment, and he was very involved with the skull people. Dan, do you have any questions for Gary about the things you witnessed?
Oh, only about 5,000 questions. No. When I visited them, when my co-producer Tim and I visited them, this was after the conclusion of the experiment. So what we had at our disposal was the people who were very kind to us and were willing to reconstruct some of their sessions. We acquired a number of the audio tapes that had been done during the actual experiment, variety of other evidence. And if you'd like to see the film, it's called Skull: The Afterlife Experiment. You can see it at bit.ly/Skull Movie. It's the short URL for it. It's on both Vimeo and YouTube. And we, of course, we were only able to just barely scratch this in an 80-minute documentary. We were only able to scratch the surface of the skull story. So anyway, if you want, check it out. And if you have any questions for me, I'll be glad to answer them. And yeah, to the best of my knowledge, the skull experiment was the most extensive experiment of this kind of mediumship ever. If you know of any others, please let us know. I've also done a documentary about ITC. It's called Calling Earth, and you can also see that on Vimeo or YouTube. And I would love to get any feedback that you might have on any of the content of that material. I'm working now with Vicki Talbot on doing some ITC experiments, and I'll let you all know more about that as it develops. Anyway, Gary, thank you so much for your input and to your guides and counselors and the whole panoply of the universe that that comes through you. It's been a pleasure.
Gary, are there any other groups who are getting anywhere near the effect, the sustained communication that the Skull group had? And why do you think they were so successful?
Yes, there are a lot of groups out there. They'll never go public. Whether they'll ever publish the results they're getting, I'm not sure. I think some will, but there are a lot of groups out there who are getting really good phenomena that they don't want to go public, and possibly that's why the Skull group kind of was so successful, that they kind of really did stick with the group. You get a lot of mediums who do go public very quickly. But physical mediumship is strong in the world at the moment. It's gone very much behind closed doors. What would be nice to see is a repeat of the cross correspondence experiments, where Spirit would work with different teams, give information, tell them where to send the information, but it only made sense when it was all put together. It'd be nice to see that. And it'd be nice to encourage some groups to try and sit for that.
Susan Barnes, we've got Susan here. What's the situation with physical mediumship at Lilydale at the moment? Have you got anything happening there?
You got your melody of mediums?
I'm reading. Yeah, we're doing a new conference this year. It's called Metaphysical Medley, and we're going through the first day is psychic, second day is mediumship, third day is trance, and the final day is physical. And so we have Julie and Michael doing a demonstration in the auditorium for that, and then they're doing physical seances the next day at Neil's. So Julie and Michael have been doing a whole bunch of different workshops for the Dale. So there has been a little more activity with physical mediumship there.
Is there any opposition to physical mediumship coming from anybody?
Not at the moment. I mean, I know that a couple of years ago they had a big, there was posters and protests and things about it with Neil, but no, that hasn't happened. I mean, basically what happens is that Neil does the dark seances at his place. There is no place in Lilydale to do a dark seance at this time. So, and I don't see them taking the Octagon building and turning it into a dark seance room. But they have been allowing me to keep doing my intro to physical mediumship work. And as I said, they've got Julie and Michael doing all kinds of workshops for them, especially online.
Well, I'm curious about that. I'm aware that different groups have their own sort of focus and point of view, and sometimes even dogma. And I'm wondering why the resistance to physical mediumship at Lilydale.
I can tell you that it came from the Arthur Findlay College. There was a resident who has now passed away in the Dale who took the Arthur Findlay College idea of the fact that you had to have photography in the dark seance room. Otherwise, they wouldn't allow the dark seances. So the Arthur Findlay College wrote up a kind of manifesto against physical mediumship, and to my understanding, they're still against physical mediumship. And the Dale picked up on that, and some of the members of the Dale were vehemently arguing what the Arthur Findlay College was arguing. However, as being the only SNU member that I know of living in Lilydale right now, I'm not opposed to physical mediumship. In fact, as everybody knows here, I'm a proponent for it. So what I've also tried to make them aware of is that physical mediumship is not only a dark seance, but there are all kinds of other forms of mediumship that the physical mediums in Lilydale used to do. So there's a better awareness now of physical mediumship.
Well, I think that's important. One of my obsessions, if you might call that, is in the area of semantics. We tend to generalize. We tend to label and stick words on things and assume that other people know what we're talking about. And physical mediumship is obviously a very broad topic, and as we all know, there's a variety of approaches. So and just these situations where these points of view become ideological and can tend to block further research and understanding. Anyway, I'd be interested to know over time how this works out for you, and what the and how how the hopeful acceptance
It's been growing.
of a broader perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been growing. I mean, the fact that the Dale allows Michael and Julie to do all kinds of online workshops and workshops in the Dale, doing different aspects of physical mediumship, shows that there's no longer this prejudice against it. But again, the people that were spearheading this complaint about physical medium are not there anymore. They're not in the Dale. So there's no big furor about it going on.
Thanks.
I'm always staggered by the fact that the Arthur Findlay College doesn't realize that the college was there as a result of physical mediumship.
Well, it's very funny that you say that, because a medium that I'm working with and going to be at the conference with us actually claims he just brought through Arthur Findlay. I don't know what the message was, but I think Arthur Findlay's starting to come through different mediums. And it is funny, but Lilydale also started on physical mediumship. And that was one of the things that I've researched and lectured on there. And they've forgotten that. I mean, some of the people like Cora Richmond, who isn't even mentioned in the Dale anymore, was this phenomenal trance medium. Nobody's even come close to the kind of work that she used to do today. So they just have neglected their own histories.
Absolutely. Okay. Sally, you have something urgent to say.
I do, because I actually have a slightly different perspective. Having finally visited Arthur Findlay last year and spent a week there, there is a big push and pull between that, having rejected physical mediumship and going back to it. The newer mediums that are really well known and hold a lot of sway are questioning that sort of dogmatic stance about rejecting physical mediumship. That's where I saw two separate mediums do transfiguration sittings, and really interesting physical phenomena that happened. The only thing is that it wasn't in the pitch black dark, it was in dim light. They've got students sitting in cabinets, so they haven't utterly rejected it. They're coming back around, and it's really a new group of mediums that are starting to push it, I feel.
Yeah, well, they allow the light, so the transfiguration's fine. I've seen transfiguration there as well. What their complaint is about the total dark setting.
Right. And I know that for traditional ectoplasmic physical mediumship, that generally has to develop in the dark, and I understand that. But if physical mediumship is making a shift to photoplasm as opposed to ectoplasm, which I kind of feel that it is, complete dark is not going to be absolutely necessary. And that will get rid of any, claims of fraud or claims of,
I have
fishy
to tell you
business.
a story. My seance room that I have in Lilydale, and we do seances there, and I've had people from the college work there. I always kept a little bit of red light in it, but my friend Steve came and totally blacked out my seance room. We totally blacked out all of it. And when I made the room totally dark, I got the trumpet to move.
I understand. Oh, and I'm assuming that was ectoplasm, not photoplasm, correct? Or not?
I'm not sure. I mean, I think it was probably ectoplasm. But yeah, we didn't know it fell until after the lights had been turned on. But it did. It came. I have a shelf with all my trumpets on it. It came directly out like this and then dropped over.
Yeah.
And it couldn't have just dropped off the shelf because it would have hit my TV. So anyway, yeah, we got more phenomena when we actually did the black work, but I'll do that occasionally, but I still try to work a little bit in light.
Most of my seances apparently now are in light. But I always say to developing physical mediums, even if you want to work in light, that's fine, that's great. We should work towards that. Start in the dark though. Light disperses energy. Start in the dark, let it develop, and then once it's developed, you can introduce light. It's going to make it a lot easier, put a lot less stress on your body. And again, when we look at physical mediumship, there's different types of physical mediumship. So, you've got some groups that are going to be working on evidence, and they'll be bringing through loved ones and evidence on that. You got some, like look at Kai. Kai's is more experimental. It's more about what can the spirit teams do with the energy rather than bringing through loved ones. So you've got so many different types of physical, and part of the problem you had with things like the Arthur Finney College is you had very good mental mediums who know everything about mental medium, but don't necessarily know anything about physical mediumship, who said it's got to be this way or you're doing it wrong. When actually, when we look at mental mediumship, we accept some people are clairvoyant, some are clairsentient, some are clairaudient, some work better on platforms, some work better one-to-one. So we're already open that when it comes to mental mediumship, there's 101 different ways to do it. But then they were going, but with physical, there's only this one way we'll allow. And that became the major problem.
Yeah, I will say that this discussion is really wonderful and fascinating, and I can see a lot of light bulbs going on over folks' heads, and certainly over my own. And greatly appreciate Gary and everyone who's been contributing today. Thank you so much.
Right.
On regards to like the Arthur Finney thing, when it comes to physical, what a lot of people don't realize is actually things aren't any different now than they were 100 years ago. If you ever go to the Arthur Finney College, go to the museum. They have letters from Helen Duncan to the SNU, basically telling them to go and stick it up there, because they treated her horribly. She had a seance once where for an SNU church where she was so ill that her husband had to call the church and said, Helen cannot come, she is not well enough. So the church sent a representative round her house to go and collect her and to bring her to the seance. And when she was in court, the SNU just threw her under the bus. So it's no different now, but it will change. And, you're always going to get criticisms. And one of the problems we have when it comes to physical mediumship as well is people are afraid to talk about their experiences. The mind can interfere. You can get transported to a spirit use your body. You can be in trance and have an awareness of what's going on. And that's perfectly fine. We should be allowed to talk about it. But people are afraid to say their experience because they're afraid someone will turn around and go, well, you were faking it then, which is not the case at all. And that's become the biggest problem, that people are so afraid to talk that people are then saying, well, then things have to be this way or that way, or it's fake. And it's just not the case. But we are learning, we are adapting. And people will come around eventually.
Gary, for the people who don't know, you are one of the few who allow experimenters to work with you. The work you've been doing with Eckhart Cruz is amazing, and people should know that.
Over the years. And I try and encourage more people to do it. Kai's now doing it, which is great, and he's getting some amazing results. And we should try and document it. It's not about to try and prove if you're real or not. It's to document, this is how you work, this is the level of control that spirit has, and this is hopefully what we can do with others.
Dan, you were going to make a comment on this?
Oh, just the whole question of it, acceptance and things having to come out of the closet. I think we need to redefine terms such as paranormal and supernatural, which paranormal depends on your definition of normalcy, or supernatural depends on your definition of nature. I think we're burdened by our language in this area, and I think that we have to start either changing the language or in other ways softening it so the dogma doesn't set in quite so easily. Anyway,
Right.
That's my spiel.
Thank you, Dan. Christina?
Yes, I'd just like to say, in the northeast of England, there's a lot of spiritualist churches, and there's none of them do physical mediumship.
Yeah.
And the one that I know that does have a class, you've got to be a platform medium for 2 years before they'll even consider you. And you've got to be a member of that particular church.
Yeah.
And the thing is that, from my experience twice in a development circle and being just taken out, if you like, taken over without saying, yes, it's okay. I was chastised. I was basically sent to company. There's none of them would talk to us. And I still go down the church because I said I'd support them, but it's still the same. Yeah, they sort of keep you at arm's length, and they don't like to speak to you. There's no horns growing out my head, but they said it was a work of the devil.
The greatest opponents of physical mediumship are spiritualists. I cannot believe the number of spiritualists, mediums, who I have heard speak at conferences saying anything that happens in the dark is fraudulent. Now, it is absolute ignorance. Karen Richards, you're nodding on this. Have you had experienced on this one?
Well, the spiritual churches are based on mental mediumship, not physical mediumship.
Yeah.
So the purpose of you going there is communicating with loved ones, evidence. That's what we train to do at the SNU and at the spiritual churches as a mental medium. Yeah. But I find the worst of people are people in the field that I am in, which is mediumship. They have lack of support, almost lack of trust for anyone. Any ideas that I have to keep to myself because people will run with them. It's actually one of the questions I was going to ask Abraham today, because I see that more and more and more. Like, I'm Gary's home circle, have been for quite some time now, maybe 10 years. And at the moment, Sally, I'm doing experiments based on changing people, altering people's power within. I've called it the power within via EEG machine. So you'll sit with me, you'll be tested, then I help you do spoon bending or table tipping or ICT, all of that. So at the moment we're doing experiments. My home circle in Perth here started the experiments. But there's really, other than me going on my own and me actually doing all of these things, I actually don't have many people around me that I can trust with this. And that I find that really difficult. The only people that I have serious problems with mediumship is other mediums or want to be mediums.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Susan Barnes, is this something you've encountered?
Well, here's what I wanted to say to you, and I'm in a very interesting situation right now because I have deeply gotten involved with the Casey readings, And the aspect of the Casey readings I've been exploring are the ones with his psychic, when he talked about psychic abilities. And so the question that I had, and I'm talking about this now, is what is the difference between the Casey work and spiritualism? And when it comes to mediumship, and in terms of the Casey stuff, I call it psychic, Casey believed that there was the energy and soul within, and that to develop your psychic skills, you wanted to go up to the universal energy of the God force to receive messages from those higher intelligences. And so when I'm now teaching a course on Casey psychic work, I'm talking about going soul to soul with the other person. And I'm not focusing on getting a discarnate spirit, which is the focus of spiritualism. And I'm finding, especially from this discussion, that that focus is a bit limited. And working with different people who comes to my mediumship circles, I try to be open. I don't say, oh, you just have to do it this way. I accept different ways that people have their intuitive abilities and the types of ways they work. I had one person in a circle who said, I always write things down, and people told me you never could. And I said, well, if that's the way you work, that's the way you work. So there's not a great acceptance from the SNU about anything other than what they strictly teach.
And I think, Inge, this is something you've encountered a lot, of the reluctance of people to go outside what has always been done or what they think should be done. Would I know a lot of the things that you've encountered with Gary over the years are things that nobody would believe. Would you agree with that?
Well, definitely, because like even all the old forms of mediumship, a lot of them, they have retried with Gary's mediumship, and full materializations, walking out more than one. So you could argue if it's one, it is the medium. But if you have two or three, where do the other people come from? And people go, oh, you just imagine it. I go, well, whatever, serious, do whatever. You miss out. That's all there is to it.
So have you had with Gary more than one person materialize? Can you tell us what happened? You and Karen? Or Mary?
And Mary was there too.
Mary, can you tell us what happened? Come on, Mary.
Go.
Come on, tell us. We're hungry to hear.
Jen and I both, in Gary's seances, have experienced a materialization in almost all of them here in Schenectady since day one. And the last time, actually, and I may have spoken to this,
and stuff too.
we've had precipitation, we've had writing on the chalkboard, very limited in that respect. But in everything else, Jen maybe can speak to it as well.
The experiments that the spirits have done with us, being open, everyone open in the circle to witness and see anything that they would like to show us. Anything from like several times different spirit entities walking out in the almost all the way over, and it's a big circle, but like almost all the way across the room from where the cabinet is sitting.
And can you see them in semi-lighted conditions?
Yes,
absolutely. The last time that Gary was here, they're different colored lights, but we actually had a table in the room, and both Karen and Inge can attest to this as well. The table in the room is absolutely huge. It cannot, right? It's like from a castle somewhere, and you cannot move it. I cannot move it across the room or lift it. I need at least 5-6 people to even lift it slightly. Well, this table during the seance was moved by spirit to the center of the room. Now it was against the wall. It was moved to
Over
this
people's heads.
over people's heads. Thank you, Jen. To the center of the room, and had three trumpets lined up as if they were centerpieces, so that were collapsible. So if they moved by someone, they would collapse and make a huge noise, is what I'm getting at. After that, along with that, we had a full materialization that walked around half of this table in front of us. It was incredible. Incredible.
We've also had people on couches move all the way into the middle of the room.
Yes.
Like, wow, going for a ride,
That's
people
fun,
getting
though.
lifted out of their chairs, you know, played with and stuff. You know, that people that trust that they're going to be okay, you know.
Yeah. Absolutely amazing. And this happens, Wendy, almost it does happen every time.
He comes.
Every time Gary comes, and he gets more and more. Also at the last one, there was materialization that walked, as Jen said, pretty much across the room, which would be what, maybe 20 feet, 10, yeah, about 20 feet. It's a very big room. And actually display that they were solid.
And touched us.
And touched us.
Yeah.
So
how does it impact the people who come and experience it? I always say that for me, it's the, oh my God, it's real moment. It's kind of like, you know, it's kind of like, you know, you go from 99% sure to 150% sure. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely, I would agree with that. I think Jen will also, because during this time, we are all holding hands. Yeah. And the room has been searched. The room has been,
the cabinet's been searched.
The cabinet's been searched. Gary's been searched. There is no way that it's anyone in the room that could, help produce this. This is spirit coming through.
And the vibration of the beings when they touch you and like give you a healing isn't something I've ever had from another human being. The energy, the vibration is so quick and like intense that I don't know that even another human that would maybe touch you and like shake their hand, it's not the same thing at all. And seeing that in like dim colored light, like in red light, or like, I don't know if it was green or blue light.
Blue and red.
Yeah. So and you could totally see the form outlined in white. Like it is a body. It is a physical materialization.
Richard, you've also experienced that with us, haven't you? Richard Schneider has been in Schenectady.
Yes, twice.
Yes, and you have experienced that with us.
Yes. Yeah, it's an amazing experience. You never forget it.
What was the impact on you?
Well, it was just amazing to have been there, you know. I've been doing spiritual things for 40 years, but never had I had an experience like that where you're actually touched. There was one, I guess it was the second one that I went to, where an arm came out of the cabinet, and you could and people, each of us in turn went up, and you could hold the hand, and it was just like a person's arm. And Gary, during the whole thing, is tied down. There's just no way he could do that. And I've said to people that, if this was fake, these people would be geniuses to be able to pull off some of the phenomenon that you see, So it's not faked. It's very real. And the white figure, I think that's what you're talking about, Mary.
Yes.
That figure was no more than 3 feet away from me, and while the figure was moving, there were some objects on the floor, including a trumpet that figure would sort of push along with its feet. And so it wasn't like it was incorporeal. It could actually move objects that were on the floor. So, and that figure also left 4 stones as apports. I have one of them. I use it in Reiki.
Lovely. Inge, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I just noticed when he was talking about, the arm come out, it can't be the medium. We did not long ago an event for a whole week with some people who work as public mediums. Yeah. So they in it, they're both, they sit for physical and there and there and anywhere. And they could not get their head around what is possible at all. And so the spirit team for a whole week over and over showed them, even letting them hold the medium's feet and then take the feet out of the restraints, which I buy the ties. They are really thick black ties. They take them out, show them in red light how they take him out. They put him back in while the hands are on. And the last day, the guy goes to me, "Oh, I think the medium is out of the chair. He must have gone out of the ties." I go, "You know what? Don't go to a physical mediumship seance because you seriously cannot get it." They tried for a whole week to break this belief structure people have, and that is a medium. And he is out there talking rubbish all the time. And I'm just thinking, you know what? You need to have the right people who come to a seance. Mary's group is awesome. They can do whatever they can do. There is no hindrance. But you have 1 or 2 of the people we had in a week there, it is different because they will just block the energy. It's just, physical mediumship. Really, you need the right sitters too. It's not only about the medium. It's not only about the spirit team, what they can do. Like Kai will say, I will only do advanced seances where they have materialization if they have sat 3 or 5 times with me. So we get to know them. We can see how the team is with the sitters, because it is too mind-blowing for many, many people in this material world to understand physical mediumship at its best. They might, trumpet move, da-da-da. But at its best, how it was in the old times, like the war times, when all the sitters would come and all they wanted hear from their loved one. They all had the same intention. They all had the same need. They all had the same want, and they were open. Look what Helen Duncan could do. Gary's team would struggle to do that many with most sitters who come just to a physical mediumship seance to be entertained.
Gary, as always, thank you so much. Would anyone like to thank Gary for today's session?
I just want to say the conference, I know is going to be a wonderful experience for everyone. And Gary's been wonderful to work with. But everyone who comes will have an opportunity to sit with all of the mediums and experience all the presenters. It's not just going to be hit or miss. That's why it's been limited in number. So I'm very excited.
Yeah.
Thank you, Gary.
Thank you, Gary.
Thank you.
Can you put the details of the Albany conference?
Yep, ipmc.store.
IPMC.store. Thank you, Mary. That's fascinating to know. Karen Richards, any last thoughts?
No, thanks, Gary. He's the best.
Thank you so much.
If you really want it basic and really want it very clear, not so airy-fairy, Gary's your man. When we were with him at Mary's house, there was 3 full materializations. And Inge and I always say, how was it formed? You know, what energy was used? Why were they so different? So it's just not the materialization like the tall man comes through, because we've seen that for many, many years. But it's how it's formed, what's created it. How can they manage it with this form and not that form? And all of those questions that we should all be asking, not just accepting what we're seeing. That's where his team are, where we're educating ourselves constantly. It's super interesting.
When we were in New Zealand, yes, first a lady came out of the cabinet and walked to the front, and all I noticed, no feet, but it seemed that legs were walking. And then on the other side, a gentleman turned up, very, very tall, and I noticed that his shoulders were like growing. He became wider in the shoulders. And so in my head, I was thinking, oh, I wonder if they just materialized the head, the shoulders, and the arms, you know, to save energy. And so he opened the cloak in the front, and sure enough, there was nothing under there. It was just black. And then he came to Karen, and I looked from the side, you know, because you can't really move, so you have to just move your eyes. I looked from the side, and I couldn't see him. And then he moved to the back, and I could see him. And so he was, what is it, 1D, 2D?
2D.
Two-dimensional.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I was and then the lady at the back said, oh, the face is melting. It's like it's running. And so I thought it was really good, but at Mary's house, it was really good because Karen and I had been talking about feet and legs, and that looks like the medium's legs, and that looks like something weird, and that is no legs, and what is happening? And so I was standing at the cabinet, and then so these two forms were in front of me, and one of them gave me a hug, and I was thinking, oh, I wonder if he has legs. And when he walked away from me, he lifted the whole gown, and there were only ectoplasmic rods. And I go, okay, cool, thanks.
Well, look, thank you so much. What have you got on in the next couple of months before this happening in April?
What have I got? So I had my first seance the other day for the year. I took a month off, so it's nice to get back into it. It still works. They haven't abandoned me, which is nice. I've got Switzerland in the next few days, and then after that I'm off to Wales for a little bit, and then off to America for the conference.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Gary. We always appreciate having you here, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time. And all the best with all of your endeavors.